respond when you get feedback? Not how do you physiologically respond, not how do you immediately respond. It's how do you respond after you've received that feedback back to the customer or back to the staff member who has given you that feedback. After you've thought about it, after you've pondered it, after you've come up with some thoughts post, how do you respond? Because I watched this week an interview with some guys from MXM Metrics who collect feedback. And one of the most important things that they said about collecting feedback is going back to the person that gave that feedback and saying, these are the actions that we are now taking. These are the actions that we're now taking. Ladies and gentlemen, if you seek feedback, you then must act on that feedback and feed forward that information. Welcome to JTInTheRaw, coming to you live from Diamond Beach, a beautiful outlet where we are right now, outlook where we are now. Just school holidays here in New South Wales where we are. And my thoughts go out to everybody in Australia at the moment. We've all got businesses and we're all going through some crazy times at the moment. So I thought this week, inspired by that presentation from the MX Metrics guys, I would provide some examples and some thoughts for you on perhaps what you should do. Many years ago, Jamie Hayes, good morning, at a conference, I heard someone talk about getting feedback and suggestions from our members. And they said they had a sunset clause. So the sunset clause was this: if they ever received feedback or suggestions from their members before the sun set that day, they were to go back to that member with a resolution or a discussion around what that feedback was. Now that was the old days. These days, we have so many different ways of collecting feedback that perhaps that is unrealistic expectation to set. But the reality is we all collect feedback. We all are getting information from our customers, from our staff, from our prospects, from the community. But the question is, are we then changing what we do and feeding back to those people, feeding forward that information on the actions that are occurring? So let me give you an example. A client comes to you or a member comes to you and you own a fitness center and says, we would love air conditioning. Well, you probably would too as the owner. You probably love to have air conditioning, but it's either financially not feasible or it's logistically not possible. When you get that feedback from a member, what's really important is that you then go back to that member and you tell them why you cannot do air conditioning. And then perhaps some options around keeping cool during the workout. Now they will appreciate the fact that you have listened to them, but then also come back to them with that information. And this is the important thing. For the majority of times, we never ever go back to people. Lots of businesses don't. Now in the olden days, anybody watching that is under the age of 40 will not remember this, but we used to have real live notice boards in health clubs and fitness centers. A real live notice board, something that used to hang in our club. And what would happen is we would have a suggestion box. These are in analog days, where people would write down a suggestion on a class as an example, or instructor, or how we did things. They'd write it down. And this is what clubs used to do. They would stick it up on that notice board, and then below the notice would be a response from the club. What happened to that? That was great. That was proactive customer service. Why have we stopped doing that? That is my question. This week, I made a little complaint to the gym that I go to, and I've had no response. No response from them. No, thanks for the feedback. Immediately I got thanks for the feedback, and it felt like it was a scripted thank you. But they could have come back and then said, look, based on what you said, Justin, this is the actions that we've now taken. And that would have made me feel so much better. We are all collecting so much data on our business, so much data on our service levels. What are we doing to give that feedback back? And that was one of the key things from MX Metrics presentation this week, is that we are not proactive in giving that back. We ask for it, but then we don't feed forward that information and say, these are the actions. So, a couple of thoughts for you. Number one is, I'm sure you all have team meetings, either weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly. Why don't you take all the feedback that you've received for the week, the 2 weeks, or the month, take that to the team, and as a team, work out your answers. And then go back to the members, go back to the clients, go back to the customers, go back to the staff of those suggestions, and tell them what those resolutions will now be. Secondly, you could all have social media. You all have a Facebook page. What a brilliant way to get engagement on your Facebook page. Here's the suggestion we've got, and here's our resolution. Here are our actions from that suggestion. You all have a web page. You all have blogs. Here's the suggestion. This is what we can do. The key is communication, ladies and gentlemen. In a world that is uber competitive, we've got to take our communication back to our customers, back to our members, and back to our team with far more consistency and far more, I want to say aggression, but I don't mean anger. I mean like aggression in the sense of always doing it. Consistency, always doing it. That's the key to success. Feedback helps us get better. Feed forward tells the people that we've been getting that information from what we're doing with it. And that's the challenge I want to leave you with today. I want to leave you with this idea of moving forward. What will you do to tell your customers, not only that you're listening to them, but you're acting on their suggestions? That you're acting on their suggestions. I hope you have an awesome weekend, terrific week. See ya, same time next week.